Alright guys, so I'm gonna be doing this warp shortening guide. Thanks to everyone who let me hit the sub goal. Um, I don't really stream too much, but I got a lot of support. I know Sensei gave out like it was probably like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 like gift subs. So shout outs to him. Shout outs to Ryan for letting me use his Yuzu setup. That's the only reason I'm able to actually stream the game right now, because my capture card is like pretty messed up. So yeah, before I start, shoutouts to Chag and Wampy for they're basically the only two palos that I've seen even mention or even like using the tech, and Chag has been using it a lot online. So I'm gonna show you guys some basic stuff, but before I get into that, I'm just going to go over how to do a warp short. So basically, if you don't know what a warp short is, so this is a normal warp. You go about this distance horizontally, and a warp shorten is about this distance horizontally. So, to be honest with you, it doesn't really have like too many good uses compared to like regular warping, because your range for canceling off of platforms is much, you can do it from a much greater distance. But warp shortening has a few applications. One that I actually got from Chag, and he uses it on Wi-Fi, which I'll be showing that later. I think it's probably the most significant thing that you can do with it. But the way you input it is, so normally when you warp, you press up B and then input a direction, right? So for warp shortens, you input up B, and then instead of inputting a direction with the analog, you input it with the C stick. So here I'm just doing C stick right. And of course, if you miss the timing for it and you're not holding a direction on your analog, then you'll just go straight up. See, that time I hit the timing, but if I miss the timing, I always go straight up, because when I do my warp shortens, I don't hold anywhere on the analog, which is probably a bad thing. Usually what you want to do is, if you're trying to warp, like do a shorten to here, it might be better to just like, in case you miss it, you input right both on the C stick and the analog. And what's good about this is that if you do time it on the C stick, it'll override the analog input, so you'll get the shorten. But if you don't hold the direction on your analog and you miss it, you'll just go straight up and you can die. So the way you input warp shorten, like I said, you do up B and then C stick in a direction. And the exact timing for this is you want to input C stick on frames 14 to 15. So it's a 2 frame window that you have to do this. And if you miss this window, then you'll either go to the direction on your analog, or you'll go straight up if you're not holding a direction. So it's kind of difficult, and one thing that I hope everyone, like, if you practice this offline, in training room where it's the easiest to practice it, make sure that if you're going to use this online, you want to start incorporating this onto Wi-Fi, that you practice this online as well, because I know that a lot of people that practice this in training room, they have a hard time doing it online. And it's kind of funny too, because I remember when, like, Chag, he basically learned it on Wi-Fi. So when he was showing it, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, um, him doing it in training room, and he had to get used to it for a while, because you think like, oh, it's probably easier to do offline, but in reality the timing is just it's very different no matter what you're playing on. So if you are gonna practice just to get the hang of it, I'd recommend doing it in training room first, especially if you don't play Wi-Fi, you're just playing Yuzu, or you're just an offline player. But if you are gonna play Wi-Fi, I recommend like finding someone who can host for you for a while, and you can just practice the timing, get the muscle memory down, because that's all it really is. You don't really think about, oh, I gotta do this on frame 14 or 15. It's all muscle memory, the timing and everything. But yeah, the technical aspect of it is that you have to input C stick in any direction on your C stick on frames 14 to 15. So there's a few things that you can do with this, and it opens up a few angles that, for one, either didn't exist, or two, were extremely difficult. So I'll show you one of them, right? So a common warp that people do is this warp right here, because you can do like an explosive flame, just recover, or you can do an on-gon's explosive flame to the platform, or if you delay it, on-gon's explosive flame and land at the ledge. Or you could just like air dodge. I know some people they like do a short one. I've even seen some people do like warp, and then just warp back to center, which is kind of weird. But, but yeah, so the whole idea, the reason why you were kind of restricted to those options is because you couldn't rewarp from here to this edge, and there is an angle, but it's so like extremely difficult to hit this one specifically. Thanks for the follow. It's so difficult to hit like this angle right here to get to this ledge because there's basically only one angle, and it's a very slight angle it's a very slight change to the horizontal angle that you have to make. So with warp shortens, you can actually just drift back a little bit, and then you're able to warp shorten to this platform like that, and it cancels. Like that. So now you can have like an infinite loop basically. It's not really like a a very practical thing to do, but from here, because you're able to cancel from here to here, you can now cancel onto this platform. And it also has to be a shorten, of course. And then you can also go to the next platform. But you know that if you do a shorten to this side and then shorten to this side, the timing once you get to here and try to warp shorten onto this side is really, it's kind of complicated. You don't want to up B immediately, but you also don't want to up B too fast. Like that's what happens if you up B too fast, basically, off of double shorten. So you can do some cool stuff like that. I know that some people, before, what they had to do when they warp from top platform to side platform, they had to do this and then jump and warp straight down. But now you can just warp and then directly warp to the other side of the platform. You can also do rewarps like this with the warp shorten. I know people had to like jump back a little bit and then warp down to get the cancel, but now it's a lot faster. Once again, it's not too practical, but it is something that it'll make it a lot faster. So outside of those like platform things that you can do with it, I think the best things you can do are actually the ledge mix-ups that it gives you. So if you're getting ledge trapped super hard by, I think Lucina's a good example. Lucina's standing like right around here using nairs, stuffing you out at ledge. A common thing that you want to do is warp and get past them like this. You get back all the way to center stage. So people will react to this warp, and so think about it, right? If you're ledge trapping Palu, and you're Lucina, you're doing nairs, right? And you see them jump back and warp, they're gonna go back to center stage. So instinctively, a lot of people will do a backdash and try to punish this. So because of that, the reason why warp shorten is good in this situation is because you can do something like this, and now you're in front of them. So Lucina will like backdash here, expecting you to go to center stage. Instead, you're gonna be like, behind roll distance, barely anywhere that Lucina was expecting you to go. The thing is that a lot of people don't even know that Palu has the opportunity to do something like this. So it'll throw a lot of people off, and that's why Chag, he uses this a lot against people who are good at edgeguard. You honestly won't see him use it too much, but if someone's edgeguarding him really hard, like a Roy or a Chrom player, he's gonna use this tech. But yeah, once again, like you just gotta get the timing down, and it's different from offline and Wi-Fi. So, but yeah, so this is like probably the most practical way of using it. Probably, in my opinion, it's the most significant, like the best way you can use warp, at least for now, until people discover better things to do. But I have been experimenting with this other one that I kind of recently found, which is this one. It's kind of difficult to do because you're not inputting anywhere on a like up, down, left, right, or anything like that. You're inputting forward and up, so your fingers might not be used to it. Because when you use a C stick and you do aerials, you're just like left, right, up, down. You're never really like, unless you play Belmont, doing diagonal inputs with your C stick. But I think it could be useful. People don't really like. I know sometimes people will let's say they're playing on PS2 or Smashville, they'll like warp to the platform and stuff like that. So it's cool because this warp, the way that this warp starts out is by like jumping back and then warping, and then shorten also starts in the exact same way, and then this shorten to the platform also starts in the same exact way. So it's a mix-up. Your opponent has to... They can't preemptively guess... I mean, they can try to guess where you're gonna go, but if they guess wrong, especially if they're playing a slower character... Like, can you imagine, like, getting ledge trapped by Pyra, right? And then, you know, you do this. Let's say they're, like, right about here. They're ledge trapping you. You do this. They have to dash attack that, or side B it. And if they do that, they won't have enough time if you actually just warp shorten. You know, they're gonna be like, oh, he's gonna go over here and then try to like dash attack you or something. And in reality, you're behind them, and now you're on stage. It makes it gets you off the ledge, and that's the whole point of using warp shorten in this case. So I don't really know how good this warp shorten to platform will be. I'm gonna try using it a little bit more. It's pretty difficult to do though, but I want to try using it a little bit more. But for now, I know that mixing up like full warps to center and warp shortens, if I can do it, and then doing this warp shorten, it's really good, especially on Wi-Fi where people don't have enough time or don't have as much time to react to things. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. I hope like more palos will start using this because it's such a good mix-up. Like people don't even know like Palu has something like this. Also, Zelda can do the same thing. I think it's the same timing, but I just know that Zelda can do it as well. I don't know about Mewtwo. I've heard that he can, but I'm not too sure. I'm not 100% sure if he can. Yeah, you can do like cool platform stuff, or you know, if you're mid-match in ledge traps, just you know, just do the warp shorten. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks to Mr. L once again for hosting me on Parsec so I can make this video.